All right, boys, grab your maple syrup because we're going to be talking about the Ross Rifle, Canada's World War I adventure into mediocrity. Specifically, the story of how Canada looked at Britain's trusty Lee Enfield and said, "Nah, mate, we've got this." Spoiler alert, they did not have this. Just look at how they got gold in hockey this year. Oh, wait, that was America. Never mind. So it's in the early 1900s, and Canada's young, proud, and still kind of Britain's kid wants to prove it could do its own thing.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
Canada needs a rifle for its army. So they look across the pond in Britain and they're like, "Hey, can we have some of your Lee Enfields?" Well, at this time, Britain was in the Boer War. So Britain was like, "Hey, we can't give you any because we're in the middle of fucking fighting a war." So then Canada's like, "Fine, we'll make our own and we'll even make it better." Famous last words. So officials looked at a Canadian-made Ross rifle instead. Ross offered to build one in Canada, and the government accepted for a contract. 12,000 rifles in the early 1900s. Little did they know. Enter Sir Charles Ross. This guy's a Scottish nobleman, big on shooting competitions, and seems to just love the idea of sticking his name on things, just like how he sticked his dick in your mom. So this guy is a fucking absolute madman. He tried to declare his castle in the USA so he didn't have to pay taxes, which, I mean, good on him, honestly. Fuck taxes, but what the fuck? This guy was not the brightest marker in the bin. He also apparently bought a cannon and then proceeded to fucking blow up his neighbor's house. Absolutely fucking insane. He designed the Ross rifle, a straight pull bolt action gun that, on paper, looked revolutionary. Yeah, it was chambered in that .303 British, the same caliber the Lee Enfield was chambered in. Straight pullback literally meant you pull it back and you jam it forward. Not that up, back, forward, down motion. Just you fucking yank it, pull it straight back, shove it right forward. Sounds familiar? In practice, this thing would jam all the fucking time. The Ross rifle was beautifully machined, which is a polite way of saying that if it looked at mud or had mud in it or any sort of fucking grime, this thing couldn't do shit. Yeah, this thing looked at mud and just stopped working. My 8-year-old cousin could probably do better than this piece of shit weapon. It worked great in clean armories and shooting ranges and shit like that, but when you took it out of a place like that and you put it in front of, well, I don't know, maybe like the trenches of fucking World War I, yeah, it didn't want to fucking cooperate anymore. The littlest bit of grime and your rifle jammed tighter than your fucking muck. Canadian troops in France quickly realized that the Ross rifle wasn't just bad, it was actively trying to kill them.
Oh my God, Rhonda, we're gonna die! It would have just been you if you would have just shut the fuck up!
Canadian soldiers started sending complaints faster than the rifle would jam. They said it would jam when dirty, the bolt would get stuck, the ammo didn't fit in the hole right. It was just a nightmare. See, Britain's ammo tolerance back then were loose, because the Lee Enfield had loose chambers. The Ross rifle, being super precise, means that British ammo plus the Ross rifle equaled pressure buildup. Pressure buildup plus bad bolt design equals catastrophic failure, which catastrophic failure is fine when you're on the range or when you're hunting, but when you're in fucking war, it's not good. Because if you assembled the bolt wrong, which apparently it was really easy to assemble the bolt wrong, it would just fire out of battery, meaning the bolt would rocket back into your fucking eye socket, so not only did it jam in mud, but it would also yeet the bolt right into your fucking skull. Meanwhile, Canadians in France started doing the most logical thing. Start picking up Lee Enfields in World War I. Yes, they would do that. Instead of fucking using their weapons, they would drop their fucking Ross rifles and just pick up Lee Enfields or enemy weapons, because that's how bad and that's how much Canada fucking hated this gun. When they got back and their officers saw them with an unissued weapon, they're like, "Where the fuck is your Ross rifle?" And the soldier was like, "Oh, it jammed." And then the fucking officer's like, "Okay, I mean, you know what, that makes sense, that's fine." Which eventually, by 1916, Canada realized it just was not working anymore. The Ross rifle was officially pulled from the front line after the Battle of Ypres. Because you can't exactly win a trench warfare when your rifle can't survive a fucking drizzle. Now, to be fair, the Ross rifle wasn't terrible. In clean conditions, it was pretty good, and snipers fucking loved it, because from a cozy, stable position with clean ammo, yeah, it would actually do its fucking job. But as soon as you put it in the fucking goddamn trenches of World War I, it just wouldn't work. It was just too fucking precise of a weapon. That's like having a race car driver defend a Ferrari for a guy that's trying to drive through a swamp. It's like, it's just not gonna work. Or, if you're also Ferrari, just trying to win an F1 race, apparently. After it got dumped from the trenches, the Ross rifle still saw some use, with snipers, training use, and also home defense. It even made appearances in World War II, as an emergency stock, which if you have to go back on the Ross rifle for an emergency, that's not good. That is not a good spot. Canada eventually leaned on the Lee Enfields too, because when you spent years watching your guys get outgunned by mud, you tend to be a little bit picky. Meanwhile, Charles Ross lost a lot of money and his reputation. Eventually, he just gave up and went back to home, and he's like, alright, it didn't fucking work, but whatever. So what's the moral of the Ross rifle story? It's not that Canada can't make a rifle. It's that precision isn't always better when you're rolling around in the mud, blood, and misery. If the Lee Enfield was a reliable farm truck, then the Ross rifle was like the Tesla Cybertruck that needed a software update in the middle of a shell crater. To this day, the Ross rifle remains a symbol of well-intentioned failure. A gun that taught nations an important lesson: if your rifle requires a cleaning kit, a PhD, and divine intervention to function, you probably shouldn't bring it to a trench war. So next time somebody says Canadian engineering, just look at them, grab them by their beautiful face, or ugly, depending on who you're talking to, and say, remember the Ross rifle? Try to remember that it's not all snowmobiles and polite lumberjacks. Sometimes it's the Ross rifle. The weapon's so bad that soldiers literally traded it for ally weapons. Bless your heart, Sir Charles. You meant well. But next time, just go buy a Lee Enfield. Alright, bitches. Peace.